Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Anthony Simonetti and I'm with New Horizons of Southern California. And I'm also here today with Scott Stewart from Red Hat, who will be your presenter. Before we start, I just want to take care of some housekeeping items. First off, I wanted to let you know that I'll be monitoring the question box, so feel free to ask any questions you'd like. But please be aware that we will be holding questions till the end, so Scott will answer your questions at that time. And before we get to the presentation, just wanted to introduce New Horizons to some of you in case you aren't familiar with us. But we're the worldwide training leader with flexible learning solutions, including online live, which is very similar to what you're seeing today, where you actually have a live instructor that you can interface with using questions or video conferencing as well. And we have 2,100 classrooms across 60 different countries. We do 3 million student days of training a year, and we have a lot of vendor partnerships, not just with New Red Hat, but many of the other technologies you might work with, all the way from end user desktop applications up to the top technical training and even some business skills such as PMP and Six Sigma. So with that, I want to turn it over to Scott Stewart, who works at Red Hat Corporate. And Scott, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. Good morning, good afternoon to everybody on the phone. Just a little bit about me and we'll get started. My name is Scott Stewart. I work in our Red Hat training department. I have the pleasure to work with Anthony and the rest of the New Horizons team in North America so we can help bring you guys the right training offerings for our system admin training around Red Hat Enterprise Linux, as well as other technologies that we have like OpenStack and other cloud offerings, as well as some Red Hat Enterprise Linux add-ons that will help you with systems management and performance tuning, things of that nature. Next page, Anthony, we'll go and look at the agenda real quickly. So from from an agenda standpoint, I just want to give a brief introduction about me, which I've already done. Then I want to talk a little bit about RHEL 7. And what I want to do with RHEL 7 is to give you some key new product enhancements and differentiators and improvements that we've made over previous operating systems we've had, like RHEL 6, as well as how we integrate with virtual machines, as well as how we integrate with the cloud. So I want to spend a lot of time today talking about some of these improvements with RHEL 7 that you guys can take advantage of and start looking at as you kind of get ready to migrate your servers, both bare metal and virtual servers, over to the new operating system. And then after I talk, give kind of a high-level presentation on those product improvements, I want to talk a little bit about our RHEL 7 training offerings, our Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7 training offerings in the system admin curriculum, as well as some stuff we have on the cloud side of the house, and talk a little bit about some of the training paths that we have that you guys have the ability to take advantage of, with your account reps at New Horizons, and then talk a little bit about our certifications. As you know, our certifications are award-winning and highly coveted for anybody who's using Linux in the data center. So I want to talk a little bit about that as well, and then at the end we'll do a little Q&A. So next slide, Anthony. Okay, so as you can tell, our marketing folks put together this stunning visual here on how Red Hat is redefining the enterprise operating system with Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7. And it's interesting for those of you who've used Linux, Red Hat Enterprise Linux for many years. If you think about 4 years ago when we brought out Red Hat Enterprise Linux 6 to the market, at that point in time, the differences between RHEL 5 and RHEL 6, there was not that many. Right, it's at that point at the end of the life cycle of Red Hat Enterprise Linux 5, we had introduced KVM, or Red Hat Enterprise Virtualization, and included that in the operating system. We made a lot of other significant changes to the life cycle of Red Hat Enterprise Linux 5. So when Red Hat Linux Enterprise Linux 6 came out, it was very seamless for those of you who were looking to upgrade between the two operating systems. However, I'll give you some background. Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7, there are hundreds of new features. Not enough time on this call to go into the bulk of those new features and improvements in the new operating system. We do have a tech preview that's available on our site, and it's literally 70 pages long with the new features of Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7. But kind of want to focus on today is the tools that we have that are going to make your jobs easier as systems administrators with using the tools that are inside Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7. And the focus there is around flexibility, stability, and certainty. We use the reason why a lot of Department of Defense customers and customers in the financial services sector use our operating system is the fact that we provide high-level military-grade security, and what I mean by that is that our security is up to DoD spec, as well as mission-critical reliability from a downtime perspective, limited downtime. So, mission-critical applications run on Red Hat Enterprise Linux. All right, looking at the highlights, a few things I'm going to talk about today. One thing I'm going to talk about that's new to Linux, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, is Linux containers. So if you're looking for, flexibility by, being able to, have lightweight application isolation, Linux containers is what we do, or what we're using to help do that. And I'll spend a little time talking about Linux containers. I'm also going to talk about improved Windows interoperability. As we all know, Red Hat has a certificate management and service as well as integration with identity management tools. However, the default is always going to be Active Directory. So we have greater interoperability with Active Directory. I'll spend some time talking about how we do that. And then, scalable file systems. So, we're able now with Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7 with their default file system, FXS, to go all the way up to 500 terabytes of data. And then we'll talk a little bit about tuning and performance and systems management. So, we have better efficiency now from a performance standpoint. We have a new product, system in Red Hat deployment to make it easier for you to deploy systems, as well as some system management features like OpenLMI, and I'll talk a little bit about OpenLMI in a few slides as well for better centralized management. Okay, just a little background on Linux containers. As you know, Linux containers is an open source project that is not owned by Red Hat, right? There's who contribute to this open source project called Linux containers. One of interest that's really hot name in IT right now is Docker. And we offer Docker support for Linux containers, both from a hosted and non-hosted standpoint in our operating system. But the value around Linux containers, it makes it easier for you to deploy and become more portable for your applications across a hosted system. So this is like, and it's also isolates the application so it's not dependent on one OS. So if you have multiple OSs running, RHEL 4 through or RHEL 5 through RHEL 7, it allows you to do that on the host operating system. We do that through C groups, control groups, kernel namespaces, and security enhanced Linux. So next slide, I'll go a little more detailed about containers from a host and image-based standpoint. So hosted containers, RHEL 7 supports the hosted containers, really what we're doing is carving into secure containers here. It makes it easier, more portable, easier for DevOps. This is where kind of DevOps roles have become more prevalent in the space. So, through hosted containers, but more importantly, image-based containers, DevOps is able to isolate applications inside these small containers on top of Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7. We also do training on containers in our system admin classes, and I'll talk about that in a few slides as well. So, the beauty of containers is that if you're looking at RHEL 7 or another instance of RHEL in your environment, it can be supported and deployed both on bare metal and in virtual environments. All right, next slide for me, Anthony. All right, spend a little time about Windows integration with Active Directory. So there's two ways to do that, right? Direct integration and indirect integration. So I'll talk about the one that's used less prevalent, it's not as prevalent, which is the direct integration, but we also support it, right, through SSD. It allows you to connect the client, the Red Hat Enterprise Linux client into the Windows domain, the Active Directory Forest, with a technology we built into Red Hat Enterprise Linux called RealMD. And then next slide, which is more prevalent usage in what we see for our customers going forward, is the indirect integration. And we do the indirect integration by building out SSD into Active Directory. We also build out an identity management server, which is going to allow for centralized native Linux management through all your clients, through multiple clients. So the usage of Active the indirect usage is definitely most common, most time in to have that interoperability requirement that our customers have who are using Active Directory in data centers where there's a significant Microsoft installs, as well as Red Hat Enterprise Linux installs. So this is definitely a new feature where we have identity management coming into play and talking directly with the Active Directory forest. All right, next slide. When we're talking about file systems, the choice of file systems, you definitely have the ability to go in multiple directions. But one of the benefits of the file systems is through XFS, which is the system default, which most of you who are using Linux systems are very familiar with. In RHEL 6, we had support only up to 16 terabytes. We're definitely looking at the growing enterprise customer and would support up to now 500 terabytes of data. When I talk about choice of file systems, there are other ways. ext4 there's scalability there, enhanced scalability there from 16 terabytes to 50 terabytes with ext4. Also, there's drivers to allow access to older versions like ext and ext3. And also in our tech preview, as well as ButterFS, for some of you guys who are interested in ButterFS, there's also support up to 50 terabytes as well. All right, next slide. All right, looking at performance enhancements with RHEL 7. So we've spent a lot of time, making it easier for you to tune your systems and make sure you get optimal performance inside of RHEL 7. We've got built-in performance profiles, and I'll talk a little bit about that. We also have monitoring and performance enhanced monitoring capabilities with a product we have in Enterprise in RHEL 7 called Copilot, and also with Thermostat. So, and also I'll spend a little more time on the fine-tuning because obviously everybody who's responsible for the management of a Red Hat server, optimizing those servers' performance from a usage standpoint, it's going to vary, right, between the types of servers or if you're supporting workstations as well. So we have a product inside of Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7 called TuneD, and basically what that is that it's a solution to help with performance and fine-tuning tuning for minimal and maximal energy savings, right? So if you've got let's say, for example, you've got a Linux build on a mobile workstation, obviously the usage there would be different than your standard systems with bare metal. So we make it easier with this interface with 2D to optimize or adjust the usage needed or the energy needed to run that workstation versus running a server. So you have the ability to do that and do it remotely with your servers as well. And there's also a technology that we had before in our Grid product called Tuna that has an enhanced GUI feature interface that's going to enable you to have the additional advanced tuning capabilities, and also allow you to go find where those hotspots are, where there's going to be potential issues, where it might result in a service call, but also allow you to proactively load balance using that tool to help your performance on your systems. Okay, look at the next slide for me. So yeah, so looking at, these are just screenshots of a couple of technologies we have that, once again, for optimal performance. So we have a product called Performance Copilot, and what Copilot, what Copilot's going to allow for is a centralized management across all your RHEL environments. So you can take a look at your RHEL infrastructure, and you can go and view where what the performance or the usage on all the servers across multiple environments. You can do this in through a GUI interface, through a kind of a one-time through a pane of glass, one pane of glass, I should say. And also from your JVMs, there is Thermostat, and Thermostat is definitely allows for you for additional enhanced performance management and instrumentation through Thermostat. This is relatively new and news to Red Hat Enterprise Linux with this product as well. But all in all, it gives you a centralized management tool. Or a tool that's in a central location. So if you're looking at your set of Apache web servers that are running on Linux, you can optimize through that central tool to make sure, or these central tools, to make sure that you're getting optimal performance out of all of your RHEL instances, both virtual and bare metal. All right, let's take a look at the next slide. All right. So another enhancement, and based off a lot of customer feedback, is we've made some significant performance improvements in installation, boot up, prioritizing what you want to boot up first inside of Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7. So we've got the tools that allow you to speed your deployment. So you can you can push out these boxes faster than ever before that we've had those capabilities in any other version of Linux. One thing that's of most interest, if any of you guys are on the phone who are coming over who have also supported Unix systems in the past, and you've made some Unix to Linux migrations, one theme that has been asked for from almost every single one of those Unix to Linux migration customers is in-place upgrades. You have the ability to do that within RHEL 7 now. Also, prioritizing the critical services that your customers or your users are going to need at startup. And one thing that's interesting as well, we also allow within RHEL 7 for you to easily customize and create custom images, install images, so you can push out the way you're comfortable in pushing out these images out to the systems. And all in all, the goal with improving performance and installation is to make your jobs easier and less cumbersome at the boot process. So looking at the next page, the product we use for centralized management and faster boot up is a product called Systemd that's inside of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. What Systemd does is essentially manages your RHEL 7 all the way out to the cloud. It helps you prioritize the services from startup. So if you're looking at whatever your obviously inside a server there are services and applications and access to the applications that are needed first, and there's some services that can be become accessible later on during the cycle. So what Systemd allows you to do is prioritize which services to start first, right? So if you want to give your administrators access to the internet first, you can boot your Apache or your default browser first to access for those administrators to get access to the internet first. And then another improvement too is that there's a lot of processes. You can do processes now in parallel, right? So if there's services and processes that previously had to run one at a time, now they have the ability to run at the same time in parallel with other processes. And also you still have the ability to use your own custom scripts for startup through sysv and lsb from a scripting standpoint. All right, one enhancement, and I apologize, I won't be able to go into too much detail about this, but as I mentioned before, deployment of in-place upgrades from RHEL 6 to RHEL 7. We've got a couple of tools that are built in that allow for that. You can, but the biggest benefit using these tools inside of RHEL 7 is that you can do in-place upgrades from RHEL 6 to RHEL 7 without doing a reinstall. So, the ease of upgrading systems is now greatly improved. The ease to boot the systems is now greatly improved. So you definitely have the ability using for the in-place upgrades through a couple tools called Pre-Upgrade Assisted and Upgrade Tool that are taught in our classes as well in our more advanced system administration classes in the RHCE or Red Hat Certified Engineer track. But this is definitely designed based off of customer feedback. So we definitely listen to our customers in terms of improvements that our customers are going to want to see. And obviously, the biggest bulk of our Linux install is not from Windows to Linux migrations, but are from Unix to Linux migrations. So this is definitely a first and it's something new for users who are looking to migrate looking to upgrade those Unix to Linux during that Unix to Linux migration phase to upgrade from RHEL 6 to RHEL 7. The in-place upgrades are now available using these tools as well. All right, OpenLMI. So this is a new tool. And I won't go and go through this chart line by line here. It's definitely a systems management tool that's built into Red Hat Enterprise 7. What it is, it's designed to help streamline deployment from one common system for systems management and monitoring of RHEL. It also allows for additional automation and remotely deploy and remove services as needed. So it's like I said, it's a system management and monitoring tool. It's based on open standards. Definitely designed for x86 architecture. They're unified tools, and they support traditional Linux tools like CLI scripts and SW tools. One example is if you wanted to create a RAID 5 array using a remote server, you'd have that ability to do that very easily through this management tool called OpenLMI. OpenLMI is a community project as well, and this is something that Red Hat has brought to the table to the open source community. So it's something that if you want to go look at OpenLMI from a a free version standpoint to get more familiar with the capabilities within the management and monitoring tools. So you definitely have that ability as well. All right, next slide. So one thing that our customers also ask for improvements on is for them to be able to use the latest and greatest from an open source architecture standpoint. So we have a tool called Red Hat Software Collections. What's designed for is to deliver the latest stable versions of developer tools, of programming languages and databases, so users can create a modern application set. As you know, with open source and a lot of the projects with an open source, you update very quickly, right? So we want to make sure through Red Hat Software Collections that we have the ability to bring those in-house and give you the capabilities to use those new, latest, and greatest cutting-edge tools that are available in open source in your enterprise environments or your test environments, for that matter. So the benefits are you get to choose your runtime versions that are best suited for your projects. Absolutely. You get an enhanced stability with side-by-side versioning, and you also get support on these Red Hat Software Collections for 3 years, and these are available absolutely with RHEL 7. All right, so before I kind of go into training and certification, I definitely gave you a kind of high-level preview of some of the enhancements and improvements that are there inside Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7. What I would suggest for those of you who haven't started testing on RHEL 7 from a migration standpoint, to take a look at the tech preview on the redhat.com site to get more details about the specific tools that you guys are most interested in. And get more background and on some of the stuff I've talked about. Systemd is very important tool, just like OpenLMI and Linux containers. Obviously, Docker support is something that we have with RHEL 7. Docker is one of those hot names in the open source space right now. Probably second to OpenStack, right? The OpenStack projects that are out there. But I encourage you to go and take a longer look at some of these technologies. But also, if you're looking at it and you want to test and train on these technologies, I'm going to talk about now the offerings that we have for you that are designed for whatever your experience is on the command line, from new to Linux. Yep.
Before we get into the training part, I have a quick question from one of our attendees that says, if you could say there's one main difference between previous versions of RHEL and the current version of RHEL, based on the presentation we had so far, what would you say that is?
I think the support of Linux containers is going to be most important, because containers are such a new technology, and they're definitely, if you talk to a lot of the software vendors, containers are something that everybody's looking to support, right? So having the ability to support software containers and sitting on top of the host OS and being able to being able to support multiple operating systems for whatever container you want to set up and develop and run those applications, or something is new and definitely improves your ability as a system administrator and the ability of users to access that information better in a different type of environment. So Linux containers, I think, are from an industry standpoint, are definitely most important with the support in Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7. And somebody in security might have a different answer than that, but from what we hear from customers and how accepted containers have been in the marketplace, Linux containers are definitely important growth in our customer base with Red Hat Enterprise Linux.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the offerings that are available from a curriculum and certification standpoint. So next slide for me, Anthony. So just to give you some background on the ways we train our students, all right? So, I'm expecting several of you on the phone who have gone to a New Horizons Center or taken a remote class for Red Hat Enterprise Linux, from our friends at New Horizons. So the way we train is a little bit different than some other technologies you may have been trained on in the past. We spend a great deal of time inside of the classroom for each of our students to be hands-on, right? So all of our classes are greater than 60% lab to lecture. So we want our students to be hands-on, and the reason why we do that is that we want you to kind of maximize the retention of the skills that you're learning in class so you can apply it back on the job once you finish class on that following Monday. So the way we teach is different, a little bit different from others in the industry. And in terms of another component, which is kind of works hand in hand with our curriculum, is the way we certify our customers, right? Our certification exams, for those of you on the phone who have taken a Red Hat exam before in the past, it's a little bit different than some other technologies you may have taken from Microsoft to Cisco or et cetera. But our exams are performance-based, right? We want you to be able to apply the skills you learn to be a certified system administrator in as close to a real-world environment as possible. So if you wanted to be a Red Hat certified system administrator, you will need to be able to configure, troubleshoot, and attach a server into a production environment. And it's a time test as well, so it's very comprehensive. It's hands-on. There's no multiple choice. There's no simulations. It's really you either know it or you don't. So those are our curriculum, like I said, designed to help you retain what you're learning in class and apply it, once you get back to your job. And we're going to be very difficult and challenging on our exams. We want to make sure that if you're going to be an administrator for Red Hat Enterprise Linux, you're able to accomplish the tasks that a system administrator is going to be asked to do in a real-world environment. So next slide. So just to give you a little background on our curriculum, there's different areas where we train people on, right? So there's different, as Red Hat has grown as a company, we've gone from just a Linux company to a cloud company, a middleware company, and tools to support our platform products as well. So we've got, from a JBoss standpoint, we've got administration training to administer the JBoss Enterprise platform. We've got middleware developer training for those of you who are out there using JBoss developer tools. But from from a Linux standpoint, we have a very wide spectrum of classes that we're teaching on RHEL 7 now. So I'm going to spend a little time talking about our core system administration and touch at a high level our advanced system administration classes and cloud classes as well. Ways to train, we have a variety of ways to train as well. We run classes in a large variety of New Horizons centers from a live instructor-led standpoint. We also have the ability through remote classroom using online live through New Horizons to connect you if you want to remote into a live classroom. And we also offer virtual classes, as well as if you've got a group of individuals that are on a project, they want to get trained all at the same time, we can offer on-site training as well. And exams, we have multiple ways to get an exam. We have exams delivered in the classroom at the end of the week of a class, and also we have an individual exam session, which is essentially like a test as a key exam testing station that sits inside the testing centers at a variety of New Horizons and other places across North America, where you can go schedule an exam at your own time after you've taken the class, done a lot of practical application on the product, and go back and attempt the exam. You can take the exams on your time, right? You can schedule those up to 11 months and 29 days in advance, right? These vouchers last for a year. So going forward and talking a little bit about core system administration, here's a look at our learning paths for the Red Hat Certified System Administrator, designed for standalone system administrators, and then the Red Hat Certified Engineer, designed for network administrators, and senior level system administrators. So starting left to right, if you have a background that's new to Linux, maybe you're looking at Linux and virtual environments for the first time, and you need some background to do system administration, you're going to start at the bottom of our stack, which is System Admin 1. And then if you want to continue to become certified, we have a continuation of System Admin 1 and System Admin 2, and then proceeding further to System Admin 3. So it's a fairly straightforward track for somebody who is new to Linux or has limited Linux background and wants to go through our training, our track. System Admin 1, 2, and 3 is a natural progression. For those of you who have Linux backgrounds, right, you may have 2 years, you may have 4 years of administration. You're still you're a standalone system administrator during your day job. We have a Rapid Track class for those of you. So you don't need to learn the command line from scratch for a lot of cases. You can go directly into a Rapid Track class, which is RH200, and get the information that's being taught in System Admin 1 and 2, and obviously taught very fast in that type of environment. It's really designed for people who don't need that basic system administration. You don't need to go on that at a high level, and you have a lot of familiarity with the command line. So kind of moving forward to the more senior level Linux administrators that are out there. For those of you who have 5+ years experience on the command line, maybe you're coming over from a Unix background and supporting both Unix and Linux servers, you can go directly into System Admin 3 and then proceed in from the exams as well from there. And let's say you're an existing Red Hat certified engineer in RHCE. We also offer a certification lab. And this is a really interesting class. And it's very similar to if you've taken mentored learning at a New Horizons facility. The same concept. We've got all the labs that are available in System Admin 1, 2, or 3 are going to be available in this class. And the instructor, as opposed to teaching concepts or teaching about these new tools, you're going to have all the labs to do it on your own. But the instructors are going to act more as a mentor as opposed to acting as a traditional instructor. So you get 32 hours of lab access during the week to go in and hammer through all these labs, make sure you're prepared and prepped to attempt the RHEL 7 version of the RHCE exam. So I'd encourage you, if anybody on the phone is an existing RHCE, to look at this class if you're looking to go get recertified on the latest operating system. All right, look at the next slide. So just kind of breaking down a little bit more detail, because our System Admin track, System Admin 1, 2, and 3 are in the Rapid Track class are our four most popular classes. So System Admin 1, we redesigned this from RHEL 6. So RHEL 6 was really more of had a GUI focus. It really was talking to a lot of Windows professionals who wanted to use and do the tasks needed for basic system administration via GUI versus command line. We've really changed that around to do more of a command line focused approach. So this is based off feedback from our customers who, even if they're new to Linux, they want to go in directly, start learning the command line from day one. So we spend the first 3 days of this class on learning the command line, and the last 2 days on basic system administration and scripting. System Admin 2 is a continuation. So the system admin skills you learned in System Admin 1, this is, System Admin 2 is a continuation of those skills. So you're learning new things. It's designed to provide more level 2 system administration skills to the student. And then the Rapid Track, just like I said before, it's our interpretation of a boot camp, right? Except it's taught very quickly. The content from System Admin 1 and 2 are combined and taught within 4 days as opposed to 8 days. The next slide. So the RHCE track, this is where you're going to get the System Admin 3. This is where you're going to get and learn more about the tools I was talking about earlier, like System D, like Open LMI. Looking more on the file systems, more on the scripting capabilities, so you can be better at managing and deploying Linux systems to the network. So System Admin 3 is really designed, like I said before, for somebody who's got 4 to 5 years plus of command line experience and experience as a Linux administrator. But it's also a natural progression after you take the first 2 System Admin classes. We've got dollar savings for you if you buy bundles of classes like System Admin 1 and 2 or System Admin 1, 2, and 3, or the Rapid Track and System Admin 3 if you're looking to get your RHCE. So this is System Admin 3 is it's probably the most outside of System Admin 3 and System Admin 1 are where the most comprehensive changes were made in terms of the RHEL 6 and RHEL 7 version. It's really receiving a lot of high scores throughout the community of students who've taken this class as well. So I encourage you, if you've taken or in the process of taking some of the RHCSA track classes, to look at System Admin 3 to continue your education on Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And like I said before, I talked about the certification lab. It's really important. It's a really hands-on class and designed for people who are looking to recertify for their RHCE. Okay, on the next slide, just look quickly at some of the other offerings we have on top of the RHCE. We have server hardening. So I mentioned early in the presentation that military-grade security is important to us. Obviously it's important to everybody on the phone. Security is. So what we did to design this course, we build this server hardening class to help you with your hardening of your systems up to DoD spec. So RH413 is the SKU for this one, but it's been a very popular class as we've had it out in the market for about 9 months now. We also have storage classes. We also have a Satellite 5 class, and also have a brand new Red Hat Network Satellite 6 administration class as well. There are two additional classes, and then we have our performance tuning that's going to is right now it's being piloted on RHEL 7 to take advantage of some of those tools we have for advanced performance tuning. On the cloud side of the house, obviously one of the hot names or products in the industry right now is OpenStack. So we also offer OpenStack administration class, and we also have classes that's kind of sit on top of that for Neutron and some of the tools inside of OpenStack. So if you're an RHCSA or have that level of skill, or a Linux system administrator and being asked to look at OpenStack as a product for your cloud environments or infrastructure as a service products, OpenStack, we teach an OpenStack administration class that you guys can definitely take a look at through New Horizons. We also have a virtualization class. We also have cloud storage class for our storage server product, and our hybrid cloud management product, which is called CloudForms. We offer training across the as a service products that are key in to building out our private, public, or hybrid cloud environment. Okay, next slide, let's take a look at our certifications. So, I talked a lot about RHCSA and RHCE. Just to give you some real numbers about where professionals run system administrator or Red Hat certified engineer. The RHCSA is designed for the standalone system administrator, and the engineer is designed for the senior level and network administrators that are in your environments. So the ones of you who are responsible for the entire Red Hat network at your company, RHCE should be a goal that you want to aspire to from a certification standpoint. So on the next slide, on top of the RHCE, we have done a lot of redesigning of our Red Hat Certified Architect requirements. Before, it was really straight-laced. You had to pass 5 exams that are all platform level or system administration type classes. But we do understand that you're wearing a lot, some different hats now, especially if you're working with working with virtualization. If you're working with the clouds, we have grown the class requirements, or I shouldn't say grown, but we still have the requirement you have to pass 5 upper-level exams before you're in your RHCA. But we've extended the reach more to include the OpenStack exam, the OpenShift exam for platform as a service, to include even JBoss administration. There's a certified JBoss administrator that will qualify for one of the credentials needed to earn your RHCA. So you have a lot more ability to choose on what classes you want to take next and what exams you want to take next after you get to your RHCE. So there's definitely a wide variety of ways you're going to go. So if you want to specialize in cloud, there's cloud offerings. You want to specialize in data center administration, there's offerings there. You want to specialize on security, our security certifications are there as well. All right, that is what I had for you today, and I thank you for listening, and we'll turn the floor over to questions.
So I have a couple questions right now. One of them is, when will be the release of the book for RHEL 7?
Are you talking about that being available on Amazon? I'm assuming so. So RHEL 7. Books on RHEL 7, they typically, take about 90 days after launch. So my expectation, Red Hat doesn't produce those, right? So a lot of the books you see on Linux are produced by third parties. I really can't answer the time frame, but historically, when we introduce a new operating system, the books that are available for you to complement your learning on this operating system are usually available about 90 days out. So I would anticipate that be very soon before a RHEL 7 book kind of hits the shelves at Amazon.
We have a question that says, how do I get RHCI and RHCX experience or certification? I have 7 years experience as a trainer and also have certification on RHEL 5 and 6.
Okay, that would be something that's handled through we have an instructor onboarding program. So if you're interested in being a Red Hat certified instructor and examiner, you can reach out. You can reach out to us directly on that. My email is easy. It's sstewart@redhat.com. So SSTEWART@redhat.com, and I can put you in front of the team that onboards instructors.
I have a question that says, are the file systems CEPH or ZFS on the roadmap for RHEL 7?
ZFS? Let me take that back. I'm not sure. Let me take that back, and I'll pull it to one of the guys who writes the curriculum for our senior level administration classes. So let me go back and ask them. So I'll just have Anthony just send that to me, and I'll get you an answer back within 24 hours.
Yeah, definitely. And Chris, I'm going to give you Scott's email as well. I have a question that says, what will the exam fees be to upgrade from RHEL 6 to RHEL 7?
So the exams, you definitely have the ability to buy the exam without buying the class, right? So the prices for the RHCSA exam and the RHCE exam are $400 a piece. So those are you have the ability, like I said, to buy those individually, and I'm sure your account rep at New Horizons could definitely help you with those.
What are the average passing scores for the RHCSA and RHCE?
It's around 50% for first-time attempts, and there's different scores based off of the classes you took before, but rounded up, right? It's around 50% for the first attempts. And the second attempts, they go up much higher. You know, some of the things we hear from customers all the time is they get stuck on a certain task inside the exam that eats up a majority of their time. And then they go back and practice, understanding that that's what's going to be asked on the exam for the second attempt, and those pass rates are greater than 80% on the second attempt. You know, like I said, our certification exams are definitely challenging, but they're challenging for a reason. We want to make sure that you're able to administer a Red Hat production server. So, you know, the first attempts, it's a little more challenging on the second attempt. If you fail the first time, you know, you definitely have the you know what's going to be asked of you in the exam, and you can prepare to look at those, you know, tasks that may have been more challenging on the first attempt, and practice on those, and the likelihood of passing the second attempt is much higher.
So one of the questions is, the current Red Hat cluster training is on RH or RHEL 7 and RHEL 6?
So the cluster training right now is currently on RHEL 6. Our curriculum team are working on that class as we speak to roll that out on RHEL 7. Our anticipation that it'll be available before Christmas to take, so we're talking about RH 436, our clustering and storage class. So, you know, the first one that's going to come out will be the performance tuning 442 on RHEL 7, and then 436 will be, you know, quickly behind that. So I just more information to come, and we'll definitely communicate that out to New Horizons so they can let you know when that 436 is available on RHEL 7.
When do exams start for RHEL 7?
I'm sorry, was that when? What?
When, yeah, correct.
Can you repeat that question for me, Anthony?
Or have they already? The certification exams? The certification exams for RHEL 7, have they already started, or will they be starting soon?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one thing interesting on the exams, so as you know, RHEL 7 launched in the summer. Within about 2 weeks after launch, we were making available the RHCSA exam on RHEL 7. Within 4 weeks after launch, in July, we had the RHC exam available on RHEL 7. One thing interesting, I talked about very briefly on the IES or the individual exam sessions where you can go to a testing center and take the exams. RHEL 7 the RHEL 7 exams are absolutely available. But we also have the ability, if you took your training, let's say back in the spring on RHEL 6, and you want to go and take the exam on RHEL 6, the RHEL 6 exams are still available via individual exam sessions. So you can definitely, if for those on the phone are looking to take a RHEL 6 exam, there is a short window. The window is going to close by the end of the year, and at that point forward, we're only going to be offering RHEL 7 exams. So for those of you on the phone who may, like I said, that took your RHEL 6 training back in the spring and are looking to get certified, those certification exams are going to be available for the next 60 days, or 60 to 90 days, via individual exam sessions.
So I have two more questions, and one of them is, can you repeat the fee costs for RHCSA and RHCE exams?
Yeah, the exams are $400, and they're $400 both for the EX200 as a SKU for the RHCSA exam, and $400 for the EX300, the RHCE exam.
And our final question says, can you please define the most important point that you'd like us to take away from the webinar today?
Yeah, it's Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7. Linux is obviously Red Hat's signature product, right? So from RHEL 6 release to RHEL 7 release, it took us about 3.5 years to bring out the new release. And the reason why it took 3.5 years is that we wanted to make sure we got a lot of input from various communities, various professionals, but a lot of customers in terms of how do we make Rail 7 the best enterprise operating system in the world. So like I said, we spent a great deal of time. There's a lot of improvements and a lot, and by design, to make your jobs easier, system administrators. So Rail 7, I encourage you guys to take a look at Rail 7 if you haven't already done so. And look in before you look at it, in conjunction of looking at and testing on the new operating system, look at the training classes that support the product, right? System Admin 1, 2, and 3 support those new changes in Rail 7, and we train on those new products and new enhancements and improvements in our System Admin classes. So I'd encourage you to look at Rail 7. We had greater than 3,000 beta customers for Rail 7 working on that in conjunction with Red Hat before launch here in North America, and thousands more across the world who were providing enhancements and improvements. It was really a community-driven product, right? So a lot of the, all the beta testing was not done at Red Hat in a closed room here in Raleigh, North Carolina, but they were done by customers, by partners, by vendors like hardware vendors like Dell and HP and Cisco. It's really a really good operating system. It's the best operating system that Red Hat's brought out, and the improvements are not just on the technologies, but it's improvements of the enhancements as you as a system administrator to support that operating system to make your jobs easier. So I'd encourage you to take a look at the operating system, which a lot of you guys, if you're already, there's already plans to do that. But in conjunction, the training classes at our System Admin 1, 2, and 3, they addressed all the new changes and enhancements in Rail 7 to make you more effective system administrators.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scott. I know on behalf of New Horizons, I want to say thank you for your presentation today. And on behalf of the audience, we'd like to give you a round of applause. Thank you for coming today, everyone. If you want to see the presentation, it'll be going up on our YouTube channel later today. So if you go to youtube.com/NHSoCal, that's N as in new, H as in Horizons, SoCal as in Southern California, you'll be able to see a recording of this. And we hope to see you back here soon. We have regular webinars that go on every Thursday. So we hope to see you back on another topic, and have a great afternoon and a great weekend. Thanks, everyone.